Everything looked normal that morning. It wasn't. Priya Sorensen had been a pediatric dietitian for 9 years. She knew growth charts, feeding patterns, the small physical tells of a child who wasn't getting enough of something. She trusted that training completely. That trust was about to work against her. Her son Wyatt, 16 months old, had been getting over his stomach bug for 3 days. By Thursday, he was smiling again, eating small bites of banana, walking around the kitchen like nothing had happened. Biscuit, their 5-year-old golden lab, had been gentle with Wyatt since the day he came home from the hospital. Patient with the ear pulling, patient with the shrieking, the kind of dog neighbors called practically furniture, which is why Thursday afternoon didn't make sense. Wyatt was sitting on the kitchen floor, and Biscuit crossed the room and put his face directly against the boy's mouth. Not a lick, a hold. His nose pressed to Wyatt's lips for almost 3 full seconds, completely still. Priya called him off. He came back within a minute and did it again. She knew the literature on resource guarding, on dogs that fixate near recovering children. She'd read the incident reports at the clinic. So when Biscuit did it a 3rd time, harder, longer, she made the responsible decision. She put him in the laundry room. He scratched at the door for 20 minutes straight. Not the frantic scratching of separation anxiety, steady, rhythmic, purposeful. Her husband Dale came home to the sound of it and asked if something was wrong. Priya said no, just an adjustment period. That felt true enough to say out loud. Wyatt went down for his nap. The house went quiet. Too quiet. Priya would say later, the kind of quiet that in 9 years of clinical work, she had learned to distrust more than crying. She went to check on him anyway, almost as an afterthought. His color was wrong. Not dramatically, just a faint grayness around the mouth that hadn't been there an hour ago. His hands were cool. He barely stirred when she picked him up. The pediatric ER reading came back 40 minutes later. Blood glucose at 44 milligrams per deciliter. Post-viral hypoglycemia, a known but under-recognized risk after a child stops eating normally during illness, as stored glucose depletes without any obvious warning sign. Dogs can detect acetone-related compounds in exhaled breath at concentrations thousands of times below what a human could ever notice, the attending physician told her. He wasn't fixating on your son. He was reading his breath. Another 20 minutes, and we'd likely be talking about a seizure instead of a monitored recovery. Priya sat with that the whole drive home. The nose pressed to Wyatt's mouth. Not affection, detection. The scratching at the laundry door. Not anxiety, an alarm he couldn't turn off. She had spent 9 years being trained to read children. Biscuit had spent 9 years being trained to read Wyatt specifically, and she'd locked him in a room for doing his job better than she had. If you're the kind of person who stays for stories about what animals notice before we do, you're exactly where you should be. Subscribe so you don't miss the next one. They let Biscuit out that evening. He didn't sulk, didn't hesitate. He walked straight to Wyatt, now sleeping soundly in his crib, with color back in his cheeks, and lay down on the floor beside it, chin flat against the carpet, eyes open. Has your dog ever done something that made absolutely no sense until it was the only thing that made sense? Tell us in the comments. These stories deserve to be heard. Priya didn't reach for her phone that night. She sat on the floor next to Biscuit and watched her son breathe, and watched the dog watching too, and understood for the first time that some of the best readers in that house didn't need a single word to do it. If stories like this matter to you, subscribe so you never miss the next one. The next dog we're covering changed his entire routine. 3 weeks before a diagnosis nobody saw coming.